owner of that area, that sector. Yeah.
Got it.
Now, listen. At that time, it was more geographically closed because they weren't global businesses. Banks are global businesses, so because what you could do with HSBC, you can go to Hong Kong and all their various offices. You know what I mean? So there's a lot that you can grow globally with a bank. Yeah, and maybe with a bank you could end up with something like maybe you could do 20 million with a bank all over the world. Here's your problem: if the bank goes bust, you're reliant too much on one client.
Correct. I agree with you. So my answer to that is so currently where I am right now in the business right now is that the product exists. I would like to get as much as traction as possible, at least in the next 6 months in 2020, right?
Yeah, no, so that's fine.
And also,
that's not my question though, Raj. My question is what you're doing in 2 years from now.
No, this is exactly, it's important because that's what I need to have, that critique thinking, which is very much important, right? So I will continue there are two ways I can do here. I can continue building products, like one product here, and we're actually doing the grants as well, right? Like AI computer vision, right? And so basically, as an AI company, we're not actually doing services, we're actually creating multiple products. There is a lifetime value for each product, maybe perhaps, as you said, 3 years, 5 years, something like that, right? So this is a good revenue stream, right? We can run through the story.
But let me ask a question. So when you're making a new product, which I know you are, you're constantly thinking and developing, are you making that product for one client, or are you making that product to be taken to other clients?
No, definitely a wider market. So because the reason why I picked up the banks was really because obviously we had some background with it, and also we understood some of the problems very well. And also when we started creating this product, now as you can see, the same sentiment and insights, you can apply that into any sector, right? Basically, who has got a social presence. So definitely, like Skillify had, like an example, multiple sectors, we can definitely very well do that. So which means that I think that is one way, but actually I want to get to this level. You remember I told you last time, basically creating a disruptive platform, right? An example. Kind of not disruptive, I would call it a simple platform, unbiased, kind of a short issues, or we call it sentiments, and it just like, this is where eventually I want to get to, right? And so that people or consumers can able to talk about freely about any brand without having to rely on, right? So that is the end game. And so that like Skillify might have got a different business model about people, subscriptions and everything about a product. But here, it's like Twitter, and obviously Twitter it's really good, but actually it's a lot of junk in Twitter as well, right? Which means that people can post anything. There is no boundaries. There is no boundary for Twitter. An example, people don't use Facebook because obviously Facebook is even like marketing tool, right? And also connections. Basically, Instagram is actually personalities and also people, and LinkedIn is for businesses. Hey, how great I am! Come and like my post or anything like that, right? There is, if you look at it broadly, I don't know. Maybe I need to do a little bit of research. There isn't one where people can able to connect easily. That could be community, or maybe whatever the reason, so that people can honestly talk about anything about their one issues, right? That way we can be the next, we can gather data, and actually this platform can like data and asset, right? Platform can go.
Yeah, but only in one bank though.
No, this is not for the bank.
This is generally.
So when I say the platform, right? So this is a platform. So imagine, I will give you a platform for you. So this is a platform where you can talk about any company. Okay, I don't like the customer service in IBM. Just like short messages, right? We can tune into many reasons. Basically, you can actually, the score or something like that. You can actually ask them score, maybe an issue. And this is something you need to really brainstorm. I think every night I've been thinking about how is the best simple way to make it, and about any particular brand, right? In IBM or Microsoft, which is like unbiased information, so that people can able to talk freely, and then we can sell it to the corporations. Hey guys, this is what, or we can just leave it like Twitter.
So what you're doing here then is this is affinity to customer. This is not affinity to business.
Yes, this is could be some. Yes, definitely. This is like a what you call like a social media platform.
So this is. I'm saying it to be to polarize, but this is basically responding to the rise of the individual. So you send this through to the individual.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Not the bank. No banks, nothing. This
banks.
is like the next Google or the next Facebook, but it's for everyone.
So it's everyone, so that they can actually give the information about that, and also the customer, the organizations that actually can actually take the data, or they can just be the participants. Yeah.
So okay, so we've talked about this before. So strategically now, your 5-year plan is as follows. You've got your bread and butter, which is working with a few exclusive banks.
Yeah.
What I would like you to do on just that channel there is genuinely just say to me, in the banking world, in 5 years from now, what would your turnover be working with, and which would be the clients that you'd want to be working with? And I think in that alone, you should be looking at round about 12 to 15 million turnover just in the banking sector with a few key clients.
Yeah? I agree. Yeah.
I did write 30, by the way, but I think that, but that will also be a very good fee generator. It will also be a good hotbed for product development because you're developing it for a client, for money, and so on and so forth. But it is quite a traditional business, Raj. Okay. Now, the second bit is creating a platform for everybody. But using the philosophy that you have, which is bringing real-time sentiment to your balanced sentiment to your computer or wherever you are. So if you want to ask a question about Donald Trump, or you want to ask a question about something else, your machine gives you a balanced view, which I think would be great, because that would also counterbalance fake news and all that sort of stuff. And then you've got a database, data mining, you've got subscription services, which you can set up so that, like with Google, you get so far, but you don't get the real stuff because you've got to pay for it. But with you could get it all. Okay.
Yeah.
So that is a big idea, and that could be a multi-million pound turnover business.
Definitely, billion. Yes. I think this is
so strategically, we've decided tonight we've got a revenue flow. Let's beat about the bush, and no one understands that more than me, And also, by the way, that will die, and people will come in and attack you, and it will go eventually. But what you've got 5 years, I think you've got 5 years. You're ahead of the game. I think you could do quite well and do a £12 million turnover per year after 5 years. That's your goal, and you've got to do a very detailed business plan of exactly which banks you want. And if they don't work for you, which are the secondary and third things that you're going for? Done. And then the next thing then is you've got to then raise money around an idea of creating a platform in the way that you're envisaging now.
Yeah.
And that's your business plan.
Yeah.
So now the question is, do we separate the company into two bits? So do we have one business that just services banks, or do we have one, or do we put the two together? With the one that's servicing the banks is providing the money to develop the new product.
Yeah. So I think I was about to tell you the answer as well. So for now, yes, I think I can call this as all goes into R&D, right? Basically, right?
Yeah.
We can just call this an R&D, which can have our own P&L like that. But eventually, my idea is that I would like to sell this business for 2, 3, maybe 3 years down the line, whatever that is in multiples, right? I think out of the way.
Yeah.
While we actually intellectually, I would think personally, if you spend enough time, I think in 6 months to 1 year time, we can able to get this MVP level. I mean, even doesn't need to have that much. I think then we can either rise. Then I think it would be better to have a separate platform for sure. It should not be the same company.
Yeah.
So obviously, we can give a flavor for the investors that what is that we are working on. But I think ideally it should be better to have a obviously brand.
But what you've got to be careful of, and this is what I've been going through, day after day after day, is when you're getting investors involved, you have to be very clear about what it is that they're doing, and if you are thinking of doing a secondary one, you almost need to go and raise funds to develop that. Do you know what I mean? And probably your second idea, which is the sort of Machiavellian rule the world new platform, AI platform, I think you should really start bringing that on stream towards the end of next year, once you've got yourself set up with what you're doing at the moment, and then you can just.
Neil?
Yeah, hi.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I didn't hear you. Okay, got it.
Yeah, just give me a minute, Raj. Hello. No, she's obviously done it by mistake. Okay, so what I think is quite good about that conversation, Raj, is you've got to. What I think I would recommend that you do is I would recommend you look at 5 years. I want you to take your existing business that you've got now and genuinely work it through with the products you see coming along or whatever. Yeah. What you believe could be that revenue per year turnover at the end of the 5th year. Yeah. I suspect it will be somewhere around about 12. What I think the limitation of that idea is that you'll be limited in the number of banks that you can use because they're of conflict of interest, unless you set it up as an ingredient brand. But I don't think that's what you're doing, because you're looking at developing products for the bank. Yeah. So you're looking at it as a client servicing business. Yeah. But philosophically, that's what it is. The second one is a platform for the globe that is going to solve a lot of the problems that Facebook and all the others have. And that could be a multi-billion-pound subscription platform that could be as big as Google or anybody else that's going at the moment. But you will need heavy investment in that. All right. And then we have to make a decision as to whether we split the two, or we keep the two together. One thing's for sure, if you've got a 12 million a year turnover business, that's got a value. That also could gear funding to go into it. But what you've got to be careful of is you don't do all of this work and end up with only 2% equity. You see what I mean?
No, look,
you've given everything away for raising funds.
No, I agree with you. So you know what? I'll just give you some real figures of now. Yes, and also, we can take many actions here. So sorry, where is that spreadsheet? Spreadsheet is here, I think, isn't it? Yeah. So this is the products, right? So I can change this completely. There is one more flavor coming in, which I haven't told you, which is a very, very hot topic, which is actually XAI. We call it explainable AI, right? Yeah. So explainable AI, biggest problem for all companies right now, because most of the companies are looking for explainability for AI because everything is a black box, right? So in this area, we are developing some interesting kind of concepts, how do you make the model more transparent and stuff like that, right? So once you get that, just to give some idea about what has happened in the last 6 or 7 years, is that some companies like this, it's actually at a $1.4 billion valuation, right? They have a platform. Services, right? And also there are other companies coming up like that space. If you position that little bit right, you don't need to get a $1 billion revenues, but it's a valuation, right? I would expect their revenues are maybe in the likes of maybe around 50 maybe millions or something maximum. But they've got a huge multiple because obviously they were one of the guys that time there is no AI platforms, right? So there is a lot of things can be done there. So it's not just about what is that sales we do with the sales, right? Basically, if we have a platform which actually can serve the need in explainable, the biggest problem now, then I think that will actually shape up a multi-million dollar, kind of IP, intellectual property, whatever that could be, right?
Yeah, I agree actually 100%. And I'll be honest with you, I would go that route. If it was an ideal world, I would say, Raj, forget all the other stuff. This is where you're going to make your money. Go and do it. Go out and raise a whole load of money. Blah, blah, blah. But the reality is, you can't do that. Your family's got to live. You've got to live. All the rest of it. So what you're doing is absolutely right. You're making money. You're focused. The thing we've got to watch, and that's why putting business plans together, putting visions together, having a roadmap in terms of what you're trying to do. The roadmap can change. You know, you might decide to go to John O'Groats as opposed to Cornwall, but it doesn't matter. You've got a roadmap of what you're trying to do. And I think all we're doing now, Raj, is having a very initial conversation of trying to clarify everything that I think we need to do with your core team is to put down, or if it's just you, me, and Dipak, but we need other inputs, I think, because other inputs, what is good about the process of working with a team with the sort of methodology that I use, asking slightly obtuse questions to get to it. It's called contestatory teaching. So you know roughly where you want to go, because I sort of do, but you ask questions to see how people answer it, where they get to. But when you get there, everybody believes it's their idea. When you've got that, you've got a team that's very focused on a way forward, and then will support you through thick and thin.
Yeah, I agree.
You also have something to fall back on. At the moment, you're a bit schizoid because you're going for the money, which I completely agree with. But your vision is something else, and we've got to box that out about how we fit the things in. So what I mean by that is, as you're developing the ideas with the bank, can those feed onto the platform?
Yes.
But what it means is we've got to be clear that's what we're doing. Do you know what I mean? Otherwise, you've got two businesses. One is a client services, which is coming up with lots of ideas and helping a bank like HSBC become more efficient. And for sure, you get a lot of money for it. But one day, the procurement guy in HSBC will leave. Someone else will come in and sell Blackbird AI, and you're gone. Yeah, and you lose £1 million fees.
Yeah.
And you go, oh fuck, and you know, I've been there, and you've got staff and costs, and it's just the way it goes. Whereas what I'm saying is, do that. You need to make sure while you're doing that whether you can transfer the technology and the learning that you've got going through there, whether you can transfer that to another sector, you know, the travel sector, the leisure sector, whatever it may be. I think you can. Skillify sector, you can. I think so. I think you can take that product and move it across. Or do you make that product accessible to everything? Because one of the things that's very strong about your product is you don't put any filters on it.
Yes,
you just bring the information as it is.
Yes.
So it could be an Intel ingredient brand. Now we're talking serious money.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I mean, now the bank is only in the picture because of the what you call the interest what we have received. It doesn't need to be like that forever.
No, but again, that's a very clear piece of branding that you have to come up with, and so therefore it is Skillify. So it's Intel or Dolby. You know them. You know all the ingredient brands, which is about efficiency of information.
Yes.
Yeah? That. I think then you can sell to all the banks, because what you're not doing, but here's the problem. We have two risk desks, okay? They're both fighting for the same market and the same speed of transaction, and they both have your software on it. So therefore they're equal. Whereas for HSBC, they can have your product, no one else has got it, they're beating everybody to the sale. That's why it's worth.
Any?
Charlotte, hi. Charlotte, are you there? She's obviously talking to somebody else.
Oh, you call that? Okay. Just call. That is absolutely right. I think you're right. I think I need to position this product to all markets, not just banks. And I think that is a story we need to put in business plan.
Yeah, but here's the big decision, Raj. The big decision is: do you make it a competitive product that you pay a premium for to give you an advantage over your competitors? That's one. Or do you make it an Intel product, which is an excellence of speed to have real time sentiment?
Option 2, yeah.
That everyone can have.
Now,
if you do that, here's the strength. That if you have everybody, the data you trawl across every bank using it is huge.
Yes,
it's huge. And could you make a big revenue flow off that data?
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Or do you go in and say, right, you're going to pay me £1 million, but you're going to be highly competitive against everybody else? I prefer the latter, because I think data is gold, and I think at the moment you're caught intellectually between being a service provider, yes, or being a market disruptor.
Got it. So
you're not a disruptor. You're a market harmonizer.
Yeah. No, exactly. So this is where exactly what I would like to do is that brand, because every customer problem is different. Because HSBC has customers, we're not actually making HSBC the greatest company because he's not my friend, right? I don't care.
Yeah.
And so if I give this to HSBC, they have the problems to actually address their problems. And if I go to NatWest, they have their own problems. But at the end of the day, it's a kind of common theme. Like, could be COVID-19, it could be, 2020 crisis, whatever it is. So anyone can able to really use it, right?
Yeah.
So that's exactly what I would like to take it to that level. So I think.
And then what I want you to do is model what sort of income you could get by going down the different routes. Hold back on the big idea, which is a platform for everyone. Just hold that back, because in a way, what you're experimenting with and creating now, you need to get the product sorted and clear, okay? And you're onto something because you're harmonizing different softwares, as we've discussed, and everything else. But what I think you've got to, and look at a 5-year plan on whether you go across all banking sectors and other sectors, and what sort of revenue you would get. It won't be £250,000 a go. It may only be 50,000 a go. But if you're getting 50,000 from 150,000 companies, that's a lot more than getting £250,000 from one company. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So just start to think about 5 years and the impact of mass. The one thing about your product is it's very uncomplicated. It basically simplifies everything and presents facts.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
So the only reason it would be useful for me as HSBC to have it is I could get this information really quickly, and it would be a great advantage to pay extra or premium because no one else can get it. Therefore, I can trade quicker and make more money on my trades. All right.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I would still have it because without it, I'm behind. So at least by having it, it equals me up to everybody else. And then everybody just gets much faster and much smarter.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think definitely, I think the idea is very simple. Like I said, it will be it's not just for one company, not for one brand, one sector. It could be across. So that is where I think I need to put that kind of projections for different, at least maybe target three sectors, maybe banking sector, travel, maybe e-commerce companies.
Yeah, well, we should think about that.
And then probably I'll put the numbers like that.
So what we're actually doing here is we are doing exactly what I was doing with Skillify when I got involved. I'm challenging them. The thing I'm able to do, of course, is visualize all this stuff, because I can, as I'm talking to you, I can see it and I can box you out on your questions. The only reason I haven't progressed with challenging you on this, because it's quite tough because you've got to make decisions. But by the way, when you have a vision, often you aim to go somewhere and you end up somewhere else. That's absolutely normal because the world changes and so on and so forth. But you have to have a vision because you have to know why you've changed. Yeah. And the consequence of why you've changed. But we definitely need to get a document together like Skillify that clearly defines in your mind what's going there. My only question is it worth just you and I doing it, or is it worth involving people that you want to take on the journey so that they share that journey, and therefore you get loyalty and a bond and everything else that will take you through good and bad times?
Yeah, I think we'll have to do a combination of both because, I think definitely there are people, definitely involved in in the sense.
Well, certainly some of the people you've interested me are really interesting, and I'll get them involved. We don't have to meet anywhere. We can do it on Zoom, which is what I've done with the other guys.
Yeah.
But all I'm doing now, to be honest with you, Raj, is giving you the weekend to think about a 5-year plan. Mm-hmm. And to think about your dreams and your products and everything else that you want. I think that the platform for everybody is a very laudable thing to go, good purpose. But I think that will come along as a consequence, a little bit like with Skillify. It's really weird how this is similar to Skillify. With Skillify, we've worked out the different testing games, but we're going to then harmonize all those into one game at the end, and that's what you're doing here. You're developing products with a client, taking it forward, and then at the end, all of that you'll be able to put together into one product that will go across everybody.
Okay.
So it's small steps to get to a big step, but we have to make those decisions now, because then that will determine what we do with our development work. Whether it's worth investing time in doing that particular product. Does that fit into the grand scheme of a business to customer platform? Yeah.
And also, this platform thing, we have 2 professors here who are actually developing some interesting stuff in here. So which could be the one which you spoke to, the other guy. And also there's one more professor from UCL. I think he's a researcher kind of person. I think he kind of asks whatever it is. If we can able to bring them in, obviously these are very academics, right? So as you can imagine.
Yeah, but what we do though, Raj, is you only bring an academic in when you know what you want to do. You only put it out to a coder when you know what you want to do. You only put it out to a designer when you know the direction you want to go. What we've got to do is we've got to formulate our master vision of where we want to take this business.
Right.
And without it, we'll waste a lot of time and money.
No, exactly right. What I mean is that is an example. First of all, it will bring the credibility, and also they have some very interesting stuff in what they're doing. So other aspect is that their idea of being able to develop something very intelligent, right? Maybe if you can able to get this explainable AI platform with intellectual property, that is already worth millions, right? You don't need to actually sell it to million customers to get it. So this is kind of, keeping this journey aside.
What's different between explainable AI and AI?
So explainable is something like this simple, like the same thing what you asked me about. If AI is being used in many banks or many places now to predict something, right? Okay, I have this.
Is it to predict, or is it to find?
It's predicting something, an example of fraud or not fraud, an example, right?
Oh, okay.
So simple, something like that, because humans are good in actually doing something better, and there's a mathematical models which actually can do much better, and AI can actually do something different flavor. But none of the models actually are explainable, which means that if a CR, like a regulatory side, some guy comes in from FCA or something, he will ask, why you made this decision for a customer to give a loan or not. If they use an AI machine learning or deep learning there, they would not be in a position to explain. So which means it's fundamentally a big problem for them to understand. So basically that is where we're actually opening up the black box, I would say, in simple terms, right? And with that, actually, we can able to explain why we can able to make the decision of actually loan or not loan, And so that is completely a different space, because no one is not much playing, because it's a very complex area. And that is the future for the next 10, I would say, whatever the AI.
What was very interesting, yesterday, I did the launch workshop, which you came along for me when you've seen a launch workshop. Anyway, one of the guys in the launch, UCL launch program, basically wants to rewrite the way that AI looks at credit rating. Because at the moment, credit rating is based on corporate life, where you had a certain salary, certain multiples, and certain payment structures that enabled you to have a good credit rating. And he feels that's wrong, because people have got multiple jobs, they have a different way of life, and post coronavirus, he thinks the way that you credit rate will change completely. That's really interesting product, isn't it? The sense of now he's got to get that through the banks. He's got to get that through all the protocols and all of that through the banks. Yes. So it's really interesting, isn't it? So even now, kids are coming out and thinking about credit ratings in banks changing. Why? Because he got rejected. He got rejected for a credit rating because of whatever reason. Yeah.
Can you see my screen? This
I can. Yeah.
So this is something we played around recently before the product Alive Code, right? So if you look at it here, you may not see this properly. So basically, we're talking about. Okay, maybe let me next slide. Okay, this is really interesting. So if you look at it fundamentally, this is for the bank what we try to play. So this is the customers here, right? You have different features about a customer, basically age, whatever, how long it is, right? So none of the platforms actually, if you go and find out, why this is about a churn behavior, whether it's a churn, whether this customer will be like a churn or not churn, right? We could able to explain to them, these are the factors determining the churn. Can you see that because of its age, because it's an active member, and also product number, and these are the lowest influencing factors, right? At a very low level explanation. So this is completely missing in the market. And also, if anyone have the time to actually go through further, actually you can look at it, fundamentally, basically, even at the accuracy of, as you can see, the probabilistic numbers, and why that customer have got a churn, right? Because his age is that, and so this is what the regulators need. So the regulators, FCA and all this, Bank of England, they're against all the banks now, because they're putting these sophisticated mathematical models behind the decisioning for trading, credit decisioning, and everything like that guy talked about. But none of them are explaining in this level. Do you understand?
No, you're absolutely right. This is exactly what he's identified, but I suspect he's nowhere near solving that. I suspect he's clever, but don't underestimate that.
He's got a company on his own.
No, because what it's doing is it's up until now it's been quite crude. It's you talk about technology, but it's crude. It's how much do you earn? And so I went along to get a mortgage, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago when I was running my businesses. So I got paid 45,000 in one of my companies, 50,000 in another, 20,000 here. So it all added up to about 150, 200,000. It's not a million miles away from how I work today, actually, to be honest with you. So I go in and I say, well, they go, how much do you earn? I go, well, about 150. And they go, okay, could you get payroll for me? I said, no, because well, I'm sorry, we can only look at a mortgage against the highest salary you're on. Yeah. So, in the end, I went, oh, no, fuck off. I can't be bothered with this. I'll find another way of getting the money. So I did. So, but the point I'm making is what they're doing now, they realise that people are becoming very multifaceted and very complex. Yes. Mm-hmm. So therefore, the AI is drilling down in this way to be able to not lose business. So it's really, really interesting. But it's being driven by the market.
Yes, of course, because everything is old style, because that people doesn't work on, like, because most of the people are not employees nowadays, right? Like you said, how do you give a loan for them? You cannot just look at multiples of 5 like traditionally, like salaries, right? That doesn't work. And people are actually getting, like a startup, founders or people like that. So as you can see, this is a fundamental game I would like to play in the explainable AI side. For that, I have 2 professors who are actually doing.
No, listen. I'm all for the explainable AI side. Sites, but what all I'm challenging you on, Raj, so that you lose sleep over the weekend, is I want you to start thinking about a 5-year plan and your current business, how that will end up, and then I want you to then start thinking about the explainable platform and how that will generate income.
I agree with you. So I think that, like you said, I think
I think is a really good session, because I think that's really. It certainly worked quite hard on your product, but it also has a direct relationship to your brand and the brand messaging that we need to start taking out into the market. We need to do more work on developing.
Correct, exactly. So the vision is exactly like this: products, and then go to the platform. So obviously this is something in my head, and I think obviously this will be a kind of
to be fair, I spotted that last week when you spoke about it, for sure. What I'm trying to do, Raj, to be honest with you, is just to make sure that you don't get locked down on one client and work millions of miracles for them. Get a couple, so at least it gives you in different sectors. So at least it gives you a broader base, because that will then help your platform.
I agree with you, and I totally agree with you. So Neil, can I ask you something? The spreadsheet what you've given to me, take away the numbers. Would you be in a position to share the spreadsheet to me without the numbers?
The answer to that, Raj, is I'll probably take you through the numbers, but what I'll do is I won't send it to you.
Yeah.
What I will do is I will go through it with you in detail once we've done it. It's not finished yet.
That's fine too.
Because what's going on, frankly, is what we're doing here. We're looking at one line, which is a more traditional route, i.e. licensing to schools, and then the other is a platform to the rest of the world. And then we're trying to work out the models of how we can calculate the turnover.
Good. Yeah, that's fine.
So we're doing exactly the same. So some figures are low, some are high, some are whatever. But once we've boxed it all down, which we will do by Wednesday next week,
perfect.
I'll take you through it line by line.
Great.
To show you how it's worked. But it's whilst it has a similarity to your company, it's not the same.
It's
but actually, funnily enough, funnily enough, I don't know whether it's me or not, but funnily enough, the platform is without question the way forward, without question. Because you can reach the world.
So I totally agree. So the reason for asking is like, at least if I can have a template, at least I can start to put some kind of
I think what I will do is when we get it all properly boxed up and stuff, I'll send it to you, because all that writing and stuff we've also got to do. It's a business plan, so it's aimed at finance. It's not aimed at marketing and positioning and branding. That's a different thing you do for briefing the agencies, briefing the social media companies, and so on and so forth. But this is about raising money. But we need to do it. But also, Raj, what I'm a little bit concerned is that if you go and give away another 10% or something for 300,000, I don't like the fact you're doing it piecemeal. I want us to look at it over 5 years and where we want to get real chunks of money. You know what I mean? So when you want to start next year your platform, or the year after, let's go out and get 2 million quid, and we'll give away 10% for that. Because we know by then you'd have grown HSCB Bank up to 5-6 million a year. Therefore, the valuation of your business goes up. Therefore, that money that you're bringing in to start the platform means that you've still got a lot of equity. We've got to look at it as a 5-year plan, Raj. We can't look at it year by year.
I agree with you. I think this is where, I totally agree with you. Because
and we can get Deepak into, because what Deepak will do is he'll tell us all the time that, we're out of our heads, we can't anticipate that sort of money coming in, all that sort of stuff, which is good. But on the other side, if you don't have dreams and push it, you don't get there. So we've got to do that. Yeah.
So you think, I totally agree, because the thing what I'm right now is like option one is like get 300,000 on a 5 million valuation, right?
Yeah, you're very keen on doing that, and I'm not going to stop you because it's your business and everything else. So that's fantastic. Yeah. What I am going to do is, before you make your final decision on that next week, I want you to look at a 5-year plan. Yeah.
I'll do that
in numbers terms, so we can see how much equity you're giving away at this point.
Yeah. So I think there is a decision I can really make. I think it's just a matter of only, I don't know how to say this, because now we're almost getting to May, right? Because people are kind of tied up with not HSBC. People are tied up with this coronavirus, and people would like to take a break. And August is usually the summertime, which is very, nothing happens in August or maybe July, right? An example.
Yeah.
So I think if I make this right, an example, once we get a SOW work with HSBC, say around 200,000 or something, right? They don't need to pay it up front. That actually will increase the valuation of a company to even, we can even go to, times 2, an example, right? And there is an option I can take. Basically, shall I it's just kind of a playing out to see where exactly we can go. Obviously, whatever the revenues we have, that's not substantial. Obviously, it's kind of in orders of thousands like that. It's not too much, right? And this way, obviously, if you give away equity for obviously like 1 million, right? An example for people, you're just only giving 10%, right? And here, obviously, here you're already giving 5% here. So what is that? I don't know. 6%.
You're right in terms of doing it on the back of a fag packet. You're right, and to be honest with you, a lot of the cases is there. But what Mike Bucknell is doing is he's making you put a business plan together, and that's the right thing to do. So the only reason I've picked up on that, plus the fact I've been doing it for the last 2 weeks, is I think we've got to look at it in a more balanced way, and then we've got to have a discussion between ourselves. But also, Mike will challenge you on it as well. He'll say, "Are you sure about this?" So we've just got to be a little bit more thorough on. And unfortunately, Raj, it is projections.
Yes,
projections are a pain in the arse. But what you have to do with a projection is you have to believe genuinely what you think is right, and then find a defensible argument for it. All right, that's business plans.
I agree with you. I think,
and without them, you don't have the Googles, you don't have the Facebooks, you don't have anything, because everybody stays where they are. And so you've got to have these projections.
So what shall we do is, I think it's a good discussion today. I think it's time to wind up. So I will wait. I will try to do what I can do over the weekend, because I need a break. It's been a busy week. And I'll try to see what actually could be the projections for the next 3 to 5 years, for an example.
Yeah, that's it.
And
go for 5 years. Do 5 years. 5 years, 5 years, 5 years.
Yeah. And based on that, then probably I can able to come back to you on Monday or something. And then that way, at least, as you can understand, there is a lot of thought gone into, and then probably I'll decide that time that, what, should I wait, and also should we go for,
No, personally, I think what I quite like about what you're doing is you're taking the money to develop products. I like that. It's not like you're doing it to pay people back, which was the first conversation I had with you. So we're going in the right direction there. I think there's two things I would sort of urge you to sort of focus on. One is get your team set, who you want, get them all boxed down and happy-lappy with, letters and contracts and everything else, or memorandums of understanding. I mean, it's always good just to do that at a principle. Then once you've got the team, then let's really sit down and talk about what they think, what the brand is, and ask them lots of questions. And then I'll try and piece together a vision that you can basically own. It's your vision, not mine. Well, it's our vision, but, and then we can get everything, we've got to get everything moving in the right direction. All right. Yeah. But we've got to look at it as a 5-year plan, buddy. That's what we've got to do.
So just look at this one second here. Can you see this one here?
Yeah, okay, yeah.
So basically, this is a valuation what I've done with the VC method, which is typically most companies do. I don't know if you see that. So you can just change the number, like we talked about 10 million or something, right? If you just look at 10 million, right? So if I do this rounds correctly, so round A, round B, round C, not like a typical investment. This is a seed investment. So the company will be worth 120 million in 5 years' time. Yeah. So this is a kind of typical, obviously, you can just change the numbers, obviously you can make it 5 years. I think 10 million is too low, I personally think. And, we're just looking at least 100 million in a 5 years valuation based on some of the things what I've gone through. And
well, when you say 10 million, that's investment into the business, or that is that turnover?
This is a net income at the year.
Okay,
Net income at the 50th year, which is 15 million.
So you're saying in 5 years, you're going to have a turnover of 15 million.
Yeah. If I do that, the companies, as you can see, with the investments coming in, we don't need that much. I think, obviously, depends on the required return.
What's your profit on that?
Profit, sorry, I don't have the figure right now. I think profit margin I looked at around 15 to 20%, 18, something like that. So which is
because obviously you'll be slightly careful there. Is if you go for top line income, and then you've overspent everything down there, so you lose it. Normally, they normally do a valuation on your profit, not your turnover.
Yeah, that can be done as well, but this is a different method of valuation from typically how the company will be revenue, because most companies do that on revenue basis. I don't know why it is a profit, because if you look at Uber or any company, they cannot value the companies based on the profit, because
the reason for that though is because they're based on reach. This is a complex thing we've got to understand. Why reach? Reach is about data.
Yeah.
And so a modern business today, which is what the guys are really struggling with in Skillify, is its reach. If you can get out to thousands of customers, millions of customers, and get data in, wow, that's a value. So that's why people are looking at turnover, because if you've got turnover, that will have a direct relationship to reach. Yeah. And that's why they're valuing in that way. And actually, the minute you have a profit, you then go to a multiple, and because that's how accountants do it.
Yeah.
So your value could drop significantly. So, for instance, you've got a 50 million turnover, and you're valued at 180 million. If you were valued on 500,000 profit, or $1 million profit, or 2 million profit, that valuation would drop significantly. Yeah.
I see what you mean. I think this is some of the things which we need to understand, because the other example I showed, DebtIQ, right? They're a $1.4 billion company in 6 years' time. Do you think that they're making the valuation and the profit? No, absolutely not. They're just
because actually, when you're going for reach, you're going for data and all of that sort of stuff, and actually you don't want profit. So I've worked with companies where they've actually put money in my bank account, so that when they do their accounts at the end of the year, the accountants go, "You've made zero profit." But then what they're looking at is the amount of top line money you've got, which is where you are, and also the number of customers and reach that they've got, because that's what Google wants to buy. What they want to buy with Skillify is all of the psychometric tests that all the students have taken. They want to buy that information.
Yeah, I agree. So let me do this thing, right? So let me play around with what I can do on the weekend. And then when you have a chance next week, we can go through that, obviously.
And then we've got to do all the writing around it. So we've got to write the vision, the statement, all of that. And I can also get some help with that, because I can get Charlotte to do the English on it. which will be really good. So, but let's do this as a proper piece of thinking. You know, let's start off as if we're going to make a business that's going to make a lot of money. All right.
So basically, you can help me with that. Yeah. So basically, you can help me with that. So let me do with the business planning and stuff like that.
Let's do that. I'll enjoy it actually, and it will be good fun. And I've got people that we can put in at certain times to check us and all the rest of it. So that will be good. All right, Raj, I'm going to let you get off and enjoy your children because they're just as valuable as
yes. They just left, and I said
and all that. So, by the way, did you get any feedback from Deepak in terms of the meeting we had the other day? Was that positive, etc.?
No, of course, yeah. He said, yeah, definitely. He mentioned to you that he said, he asked me that obviously you have a great experience with a lot of connections and everything, which is really valuable. And of course, he told me that obviously, this is where you are right now. Obviously, you're working with 1 or 2 startups. So I think that's good. And he said me, let's draft something for him. And I said, draft something to me. And
and also, Raj, just be clear. I'm not gasping for money. So be clear about that. So I've just done something that is sensible, but I'm flexible, and all I'm really there is on payday. You know, if I've got my few percent, I'll be very happy. But that's only because I've delivered. Not because,
what he mentioned to me is that definitely he asked me about the retainer for sure. I said he mentioned to me that maybe it's a little bit high for us where we are right now. But of course, I said to him that
let's be fair. I think it probably is. But all I'm doing is doing a comparison to Skillify. So that's all I'm doing. You know what I mean? Because you have a think about it, put an offer down, and we'll go from there. But I'm not. Be clear about it. The money's. It may sound a bit strange. The money's not really important. It's just the fact that we've agreed something. An honourable agreement. That's all it is.
I think the retainer, however big it is at the end of the day, it's very small considered to what we're going to in the stock options, right? I think that is a bigger game, right? So
all of that sort of stuff. You get it, but it's just that feeling. I sit on a number of boards. They pay me a bit of money, but you feel good, and I have a nice time. And it's great because, and I'm learning as well. So it's a two-way thing. So I'm not in for the big money or all that, but just to get some commitment coming back would be great.
No, of course,
but no big deal. So, right? It will definitely not be a deal breaker. So
you gave me work for the weekend. I'll do that, and I'll catch up with you Monday or Tuesday. Right?
You've got a lot of work to do. 5-year plan, but we've got to put all the other stuff in place.
Yes.
As next week progresses, I'll pull through the final plan. But I promise you, it's been really tough. Really tough, because to try and get everybody in the same direction and make big decisions for a business plan to raise money is a great exercise to do. And we should use the 300,000 that you're going to try and raise now. We need to think about it, why we're using it, how we're using it, and we need to explain that to the investors so they understand clearly what we're trying to do.
No, I agree. And also we have a better.
That's just honourable. We just have to do that out of honour.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Thanks, mate.
Okay, bud.
Perfect. Take care. Bye now. Have a good weekend. Bye.
Be good.
Bye.